The sun is shining and I have a GoPro Hero 7 White. I bet you didn't think I'd have one of these. At the start of the week, I did a video and explained why I was selling my GoPro Hero 6 Black. Now, the GoPro Hero 6 Black was the best GoPro from last year. I bought it at launch and I used it for a year. But I decided to sell it because I wasn't really using it, and I wasn't really using it in the way that it was intended. You know, that is a fantastic camera, it's got 4K and all that, but I always recorded at 1080p at 60 frames per second, and I was using it in my car, and I just wasn't using it enough. 2 days later, my friend David asked me if I had an action camera he could borrow because he wanted to use one on holiday with his family, you know, with his wife and kids. And I said, no, I have just sold one. So David went out and he bought the GoPro Hero 7 White. This is the entry-level model of the new GoPro range, and my friend David has kindly given it to me to unbox, to look at and review. So what I'm going to do in this video is look at the camera. I'm going to show you the features of it. I'm going to do an unboxing. I'm going to show you the menu system, and then I'm going to go outside and I'm going to test the camera. Now, I'm going to do all of this over a couple of hours, like, 3 or 4 hours. So consider this, well, yes, it's a review, but please do consider this a first impressions video because I do think that with cameras and with technology, you can rush to some conclusions about the strengths and weaknesses of a camera. Sometimes you think something that's really bad isn't that bad, and sometimes that you think something is good isn't that good. You really do have to test it for a few weeks, but unfortunately I don't have a few weeks. I have 1 day with this. So 1 day with the GoPro Hero 7 White, and we'll see what happens. But before I do the unboxing, I want to quickly just show you the camera itself. Now, I did a video the other week about this. GoPro have released the GoPro Hero 7 White, Silver and Black. Black is the most expensive version. For whatever reason, GoPro keeps defaulting to United Kingdom, but it's pricing it in euros. But the price of these new cameras are, in the USA, the white is the entry level. Well, white, silver, black is the range. White is $200 in the USA, £180 in the UK. And in Europe, they have it priced at €220. The more expensive silver option, you can see there, €330. That's £280 in the UK and $300 in the USA. And the daddy, the big one, the Hero 7 Black, is €430 there. It's £380 in the UK and $400 in the USA. But the one that I have, the one that I've got here, is the Hero 7 White. This is the entry level model. So this is £180, $200 or €220. And this is it here. This is the sales page for it. Rugged and waterproof, touchscreen, full HD video, 10 megapixel photos, voice control. Now, the good thing about all of these GoPros is that it will work with all your existing GoPro accessories and, tripods and selfie sticks and all that. It's the same design. All three of them are the same design, the same shape and size, and that's really good. And, one of the good things and one of the benefits of using this is that it is waterproof. You don't have to put this in a cage, something that many of the cheaper action cameras out there do need. You do need to put it in a big housing case. Kind of like that, but see-through. So you can see it there. There's the options here. Shoot stunning full HD video, epic photos, links with Instagram, talk to the cam. So you can see GoPro take a photo. And this is a feature that I had in the last one that I had, the GoPro Hero 6 Black. And just before I do the unboxing, I just want to show you a comparison. So we've got the white, the silver and the black. The entry level, the one in the middle, the silver, and the Hero 7 Black. Now, as worth noting here, it says here that the video is 1440p 60 frames per second, then it goes up to 4K 30, 4K 60. But as worth noting that it does say 1080p at 60 frames per second on the box. So I suspect that 1440p, I don't know. I think it could be a mistake, but I'm not sure. I'll find that out myself later on when I check out the camera. But you can see here some of the features here. It's got the battery, it's waterproof, 2-inch touchscreen, video stabilization is standard. You have to go for the new Hero 7 Black to get their new hyper smooth gimbal quality footage and stabilization. It's got voice control, 2 times slow motion. You can't live stream. You need to go for the most expensive version for that. So if you look at the feature list here, a lot of the features here are very similar to the Hero 7 Silver, but the Silver can go up to 4K at 30 frames per second. you need to go to the Hero 7 Black in order to, you know, add accessories like this. This is an external microphone, and if you want to use an external microphone and, you know, you want to attach an external mic, you would have to opt for the most expensive version, the Hero 7 Black. But this is the entry level, and there is a lot of benefits to buying the entry level model, especially in my position, because I never actually use 4K. 4K is all great and all that. I do like 4K footage, but the file sizes are huge and it just makes editing and everything else a pain. So I always end up recording at 1080p 60 frames per second. And that's what this whole video will be in, 1080p 60 frames per second. It will be consistent with that. So without further ado, let's get my other camera over and we'll unbox the Hero 7 White. So here is the GoPro Hero 7 White. And all GoPros are packaged in this way with a kind of plastic bag around it. And then you have the box with all the kind of sales information and the cameras inside there. So it's got a list of all the accessories you've got inside here. You can see the case and the camera there for starters, and then there's the charging cable and some clips. 10 megapixels for photos, 1080p 60 frames per second, waterproof to 33 feet, which is 10 meters, voice control, slow-mo, and a touch screen. So let's get this open. These boxes never rip the way you think they will, do they? Okay, let's get this out. So everything comes out like that. The box is empty now. So we can look at all the accessories first, and then I'll show you the camera. So these things have fell out already. GoPro Plus. Some stickers, safety instructions, don't see anyone reading that. And then underneath you have USB Type-C charging cable. You've got a clip there, there's another clip there. So there's two clips, you've got the charging cable underneath. But most importantly, we have the camera at the top. So what we can do is unscrew this. Once it's unscrewed, this just pops out. And for anyone who hasn't seen it before, this is the GoPro mounting system. So, as I said, you've got the charging cable, you get a few adapters, you get a few manuals and stickers, and you'll get this little clip. And then we've got the GoPro. So this is the GoPro Hero 7 White. And it looks very, very similar to the GoPro Hero 6 Black. And to the Hero 5 range. What I'm going to do is take it out the case and we can have a closer look. You just do that, and then you can pop it out. And here we go. This is the GoPro Hero 7 White. So for those of you who haven't used before, you've got these little this little port here, and what you need to do is push down on it, and then you can pull it across. When you do that, it flips up. So you've got a USB Type-C charging port there, and then you've got a little port there for your micro SD card. That's different from the GoPro Hero 6 Black, which had the micro SD card slot and the battery slot. So I was looking around the camera there, and I do think that this is a sexy little action camera. I think it looks great in white. You've got your microphone here, you've got your camera, you've got your record button at the top, you've got a power and mode button there, you've got the touchscreen, which I'll show you soon, and you've got this compartment which I was showing you, which has a USB Type-C charging port and a micro SD card slot. But what confused me a little bit is that there isn't any battery compartment. And the reason is that the battery in the Hero 7 White and the Hero 7 Silver is built in. You have to opt for the more expensive Hero 7 Black if you want a removable battery. Now, when I had the Hero 6 Black, I didn't actually buy a second battery, and what I did was just charge it whilst I was recording. But there are certain situations where that just isn't practical. If you're, on your mountain bike, or you've only got a little bit of footage left and you don't want to attach a power bank, or you're underwater. Some people prefer to buy a second or third or fourth battery, and then you can just take a battery out and put it back in. And of course, over the course of time, if you're using this for a few years, the battery life could go down. But it is what it is. This has a built-in battery, and you just have to take that into account when you're buying this. It is, after all, the entry-level model, so some features are always going to be a little bit limited. So the SD card is in. Let's power it on, and we'll see what the GoPro Hero 7 White is all about. So here we go. This is the first screen. I'm going to set it up here. Choose English. Legal stuff. Yes, I agree. Install the GoPro app. Follow instructions to connect your camera. Okay. Camera name, password. Okay. Okay, so it's not going to allow me to go on without actually connecting that. So I'm going to connect that now. So I have the GoPro app installed on my phone. And I just go to camera. It's going to search for camera. Hopefully it will find it. We found it, connect, okay. And now I need to update the camera. So this is something that many of you have to do as well. It's going to install an update on the camera. So it's going to upgrade the firmware, and then it's going to reconnect here. So it's now updating to version 1.21. It wasn't working the first time. I had to switch it off and then connect again. And I've connected a USB Type-C charging cable to a power bank so that it has some battery. Now this is, I would say, one of my major annoyances with all GoPro cameras. The app, when it works, is really good, but it can be temperamental with connections. With my GoPro Hero 6 Black, even several months after owning it, every now and then the app would just disconnect, and then you'd have to reconnect and disconnect and reconnect. It was a little bit of a pain, and it looks like that is still, still the case. One thing I didn't like there was that it didn't allow me to progress to the next screen until I attached to my smartphone. And I do realise most people do have smartphones, but I believe that all devices should be ready to go as soon as you buy them. So the update has been completed, and the GoPro app is doing this. And this is the kind of thing that you do always run into with the GoPro app. But put that to the side. We can now investigate this new camera. Explore your GoPro. Now, I'll just kind of show you what this camera is all about as far as the buttons and that go. Very, very simple. There's a power button at the side. If you hold it, and you hold it for a long time, it will switch off. Now, the other thing to do is, if that was a long press, and you need to do a long press to keep, to put it back on. If it is going to come back on, there we go. But if you push it once, you will change the mode. So you see that? Just push it once, change the mode. So there's time lapse, photo, and video. I'm jumping through that too quickly there. And the different things that come up on the screen will change depending on which mode you're on. So those are the main modes there: time lapse, video, and photo. And the other button that you need to know is the record button. And if I just do a recording here, record, there you go, it's recording. You can see the red light there. I think I said that was the mic earlier. It clearly isn't. It's the red LED light. And that will show you. So if you're recording from the front here, you can see that you're recording with the red light flashing. And if I push the button again, that's off. So now I know that I'm not recording. So quite simple there. Hold it to power it on and off. Push it to change mode. So I have the GoPro Hero 7 White connected to my phone. You can see that I'm, when I move it around, it's quite responsive. This is quite a frustrating app, but when it's connected, it actually works quite well. And I use it a lot in the car. When I'm recording with the GoPro in the car, I will put this close to me so that I can record, I can stop recording, and I can control settings and things like that. What I've been doing over the last 30 minutes is testing some things, looking at all the different settings, and looking at the user interface here. Now, there is something that I have to stress about the resolutions. I'll talk about that in a while. I want to quickly talk about the menu system. I want to show you how it all works, because it is something that's actually different. Now, there are some differences between the GoPro Hero 6 Black, which I had, and this. That had a front display. It had support for HDMI. It had support for an external mic like that, which, you know, this doesn't have support for. But the menu system is different as well, and the menu system on the white version here is different than the flagship black version, so that is something to note. Now, I noted earlier that you probably noticed that when I'm pushing this mode button, I find that sometimes you push it and it kind of skips 2 by accident. See that? Kind of went to time lapse to... I'll push it once, right, it went there. Now, here's the thing. That's the mode button, that's always been there, and it allows you to change modes, but you can actually just change it by going left to right. Now that isn't something I thought you could do, because before, from the left it showed you the gallery, and from the right it showed you settings, and it allowed you to change the resolutions and all that. That's how it worked in the GoPro Hero 6 Black. But here, both left and right hand side of the screen, it just changes from time lapse to video to photo. So for each of these, you will get different settings. For time lapse, you've got an option to zoom in and out. For video, there is an option to do a short clip, and you can set that to 15 seconds or 30 seconds. There is an option for slow-mo, 2 times slow-mo. And there's, again, if I can push this, there is an option for zooming in and out, like that. And lastly, photo, there is a burst mode. So you can see that, it says capture 15 photos in 1 second. Photo timer. And good old zoom. Coming down from the bottom, you get the gallery. So there's the gallery. You can play, this was a little video I was testing with my hand. I was trying to do slow-mo, it didn't actually record in slow-mo. There's also the multi-view option, and you can see the different videos and photos that you've taken. So this is everything that's on my SD card. And then you just pull it back down to get rid of it. So left and right does the menu, you know, like time-lapse video or photos. That does the mode, sorry. At the top, you've got the battery life at 95%. You've got the mode, which is on. I've got it in video just now. That's time-lapse. That's photo, and it changes that at the very top there. And the other thing that you see there is basically giving you an idea of how long you can record. So it's saying 4 hours, 20 minutes. So I've got a 64 gigabyte card, and that's saying how much longer I can record with the amount of storage which is available. Now, if I pull down, you get the settings area. Now, the phone is highlighted because it is connected to my phone. There is voice control, so I can, you know, shout commands to record and things like that. That's for beeping. There is a quick capture mode that allows you to kind of turn it on quickly and start shooting. And then there's a lock mode. So you can push that if you don't want to, you know, if you don't want to accidentally hit the screen, lock it so that there's no problem with you accidentally scrolling up or down. Now, there's a lot of things in preferences. Obviously, connections is, you know, to connect to your phone and all that. Defaults, clip length, you can change that to 30 seconds. That's which mode is selected when you first load it up. So whenever you load up the camera, you can choose to go to, you know, video, photo, or time lapse. A lot of different things here. The beat volume, auto power off after 15 minutes, LEDs. The time actually synced with the GoPro app, and it set it out okay. Although, yeah. Now, here's one thing that's a little bit strange. Now, I'm not sure what's going on here. My friend bought this in a UK shop, but it's defaulted to NTSC. It's defaulted to the American version instead of PAL. Now, that's okay. I record in 1080p at 60 frames per second anyway, but it's a little bit bizarre it's did that, because now it's got, you know, to me that reads as 10th of May 2018, and I realise in North America that's October the 5th 2018, but it defaulted to NTSC. Now, I believe that is simply a mistake on GoPro's part. My friend just bought it from a UK retailer, so it's not like he's imported it. So yeah, this is a British GoPro Hero 7 white, and it isn't defaulting to PAL. So that, in my opinion, is kind of sloppy. So there's voice control. There's a list of commands. I'll show you that in a second. Touchscreen, landscape lock, screensaver, brightness. Regional, and this is where you can change it to PAL. And that will change it from, you know, instead of 30 frames and 60 frames per second, it'll be 25 and 50. I'll leave it on 60 just now. And you've got camera updates and camera info, and then you can reset it. I think I looked in general. Yes, I did. So the other part there was the commands. So you can see voice control commands. And when you've activated voice control, there's a lot of different things here. GoPro stop recording, GoPro start recording. Look at that. And now I'll say GoPro stop recording. So it works quite well. Now, this is one feature I talked about last year. And one of the things I found out in the last version was that when I was talking, I'd be talking, and for whatever reason, it would pick up a command even when I didn't say the command. So sometimes it would accidentally start recording or stop recording. Mainly it would stop recording. And, you know, I could be recording a 10-minute video, and then in the middle of it, it would just stop recording. That was one of my frustrations with the GoPro Hero 6. And my solution was to simply disable voice control. So it's possibly a little bit better this year, but it's not a feature that I care about too much, so I'm not going to keep it on. Now, I'll quickly show you the settings here. Now, this is connected to the phone app, and the cool thing is, you can see when I change it here, time-lapse, video, photo, it changes there. And you can start recording here. You know, if I've got this setting here, I can just start recording, and this will keep keep recording there, and then I'll stop. And that's it stopped. Now, there's a few different things. It tells you, again, it's got how much time I've got left to record. 1440p in wide mode, which we'll talk about in a second. And then you've got the settings. And again, if I change from time-lapse to video to photo, all the settings change. So all the settings that you've got on your camera here can be changed via your phone. And it's much easier to change those settings in your phone than it is in the camera. I believe so anyway. It just feels a little bit quicker to do it on your phone. So put it in video mode here, and herein lies the part which confused me for a while, and it's why I spent a lot of time there looking at the menu, looking at the website, trying to figure out what the hell is going wrong, because I assumed I could record at 1080p and 720p in this. I can't. Resolution 1440. I can only record in field of view in wide, and I can change from frames per second 30 to 60. So I want to record in 60. Now, annoyingly, I had that at 60 earlier, and it seems to have reset that. I don't know why. So it's back to 60, so that's good. So I'm now at 1440p at 60 frames per second. Now, this is something that confused me, because in the GoPro 6 Black, when I came to the right here, and this one is changing the mode, but in the GoPro 6, it allowed me to change, you know, from 4K 60 frames per second to 30 frames to 2.7K to 1080p. It allowed me to change all the different resolutions and all that. Now, if I jump back over to the website, the GoPro Hero 7 here, it does say full HD video. And then I saw in the comparison, when you go to the video tab, you can come down here and you can see that, you know, there isn't an option here for 4K and all that. That's fine. But there isn't an option for 1080p, 960p or 720p either. So the Hero 7 Black has got all these different recording modes. The Hero 7 Silver has got 4K at 30 frames per second. It's got 1440p. But a little bit bizarrely, you don't have 1080p. And to me, that was very confusing. I assumed that 1080p was still there. I assumed that all the smaller resolutions, smaller than 1440p, were there. So you've got 1440p, you've got 60 frames and 30 frames per second. You've got 120 for the black. But on the white here, you only have wide. You don't have super wide, and you don't have linear. And linear mode is essentially, you know, it's a mode that allows you to record the same way as you would as a normal camera or a smartphone. There isn't any kind of fisheye effect. It's linear, and it crops it so that it looks like a regular camera. Now, I use the linear and wide mode mostly. I didn't really use super wide. I thought it was a little bit too wide. But looking at these resolutions, if you buy the GoPro Hero 7 White, you will only get 1440p at 60 or 30 frames per second. If you buy the Hero 7 Silver, you'll get 60 and 30 frames per second at 1440p and 4K at 30. And that's it. So the GoPro Hero 7 has got an additional mode, 4K at 30 frames per second. The GoPro Hero 7 and the GoPro Hero 7 Hero 7 Silver, if I can talk, Both the white and the silver have 1440p. They don't have 1080p. They don't have 720p. They don't have 960p. This surprised me. This really surprised me. And it should surprise everyone else. Look at the box. 1080p, 60 frames per second. What the hell is going on here, guys? What the hell is going on? Now, I spent a long time looking at that there thinking, okay, I've got it wrong here. It must be me. It must be the software. It must be me. But it's not. There's no option to change the resolution on this. You can't change from 30 frames to 60 frames per second on this. I don't believe so. See, that's not... Go off. Okay. Oh, right. Is that what it's doing? Right. Okay. Right. So I just figured that out. When you type slow-mo, it puts it to 60 frames per second. So slow-mo is 60 frames per second. For me, slow-mo is 120 frames per second. But hey, so that's changing it from 30 to 60 frames per second. But you can't select 1080p or 720p or whatever. Why is this on the box? They've put it in the box and they've put NTSC instead of PAL. But this is a bigger issue. Why does this say 1080p at 60 frames per second? This can't do 1080p at 60 frames per second. Certainly not now, maybe in a future version, but I don't know. There doesn't seem to be an option for this. I don't know why this says 1080p at 60 frames per second and it doesn't say 1440p. I am totally confused by this. I haven't seen anyone raise this. Maybe this is a common complaint that people know about. I don't know, but I'm figuring this out now. I don't know why this says 1080p at 60 frames per second because it's 1440p. And it's got, 2 times slow-mo. So, yeah, I'm a little bit confused by all that. I don't know what's going on. But it seems to be, you can see it there. When I change the slow-mo, it changes it to 60 frames per second. So, to summarize, recording modes, I have 1440p at 60 frames per second. Or I have 1440p at 30 frames per second. And they're calling 60 frames per second slow-mo. I don't agree with that because I would say that's a standard recording rate now. But hey, it is what it is. So, you understand now how all this menu system works, how the app works. Let's get out there. Let's test the GoPro Hero 7 White. Let's do some recordings. And yeah, let's see how we get on in the field. Let's see what happens in the real world. So I'm now downstairs, I'm in my messy kitchen and I'm recording with the GoPro Hero 7 White. I'm using a selfie stick and I've got it in the original case, the one that's provided with it. But when I'm walking around later on, I will take it out of the case and I'll try and show you what it sounds like in different situations. This is an area where I'd like you guys to focus on. There isn't an option for an external microphone. I'm not going to play any music over any of these clips, so yeah, listen out and listen and let me know what you think the microphone sounds like in different situations. Right now, I'm in my kitchen, maybe a little bit echoey, but it should be fairly quiet, so the quality should be okay. I'll be recording in my car. That's a different situation again, because obviously the engines, etc. And then I'll be outside and you might hear wind noise and other things there. But it's not just wind noise, it's not just engine noise from my car. You also have to pay attention to handling noise. When you're handling the camera, if you're moving it around yourself, you're going to hear a lot of handling noise. This is something that action cameras still continue to suffer from. So what I have done is taken off the battery cover. That's something that you can do. And that will allow me to charge up when I'm recording because, yeah, the battery doesn't last that long. This is a problem with all action cameras though, so I'm not criticising GoPro. What I'm going to do now is jump out to the car and I'm going to do a little drive and then I'll go somewhere we can go for a walk and I can show you more footage. But again, pay attention to the audio in every situation, pay attention to the stabilisation. I'm trying to move around right now, but I do have a selfie stick on it, so it should be, okay. I don't have an option for super wide or linear mode. Simply wide, that's the only option I've got just now. And the 2x X motion, the 2 times slow motion is actually what I'm using to record right now. I'm using what they're calling slow motion mode. But as I said, I don't think slow motion at 60 frames per second is slow motion because I think that 24, 30 and 60 are standard recording rates now. So I don't know, I wouldn't really call that slow motion unless it was like 120, 240. But hey, that's just me. So, enough talk. let's jump out to the car and we'll see how the GoPro Hero 7 White performs when I'm driving around. So guys, you can see I'm in my car now, and again I'm recording at 1440p. I don't have any air conditioning on, I don't have the radio on, so the only noise you'll hear is, you know, the engine noise. I am driving a diesel car, so maybe it's a little bit louder, but I don't have anything else on that doesn't have to be on, so noise shouldn't be too bad. That being said, you know, normally when I recorded in my car with my GoPro Hero 6 Black, I would use the external microphone, but I have to rely on the default microphones, the two microphones that are built into the Hero 6, or the Hero 7 White, sorry. Now what I'm using here, I'm using the GoPro app, and I'm recording via the GoPro app, and I can see what the footage is like. There's a preview here so that I can see what everything is like. And I'll need to look at the footage later, the footage that you're looking at right now, but looking at this screen here, it definitely seems a little darker than the GoPro Hero 6 Black, but you know, that is to be expected. I paid $500 for the GoPro Hero 6 Black last year. It was their flagship phone, and it still is better than the Hero 7 White, so that shouldn't be any surprise. But again, pay attention to the audio quality, pay attention to the stabilization. This is something that my other cameras really do fail when compared to an action camera. GoPros and other action cameras are really good at stabilization in comparison to, say, a compact camera or your smartphone. I've recorded in this car with a smartphone, and you know, the footage, it was all shaky and yeah, it was unwatchable. And this is where, you know, it's an area where I think the GoPro and other action cameras excel. So I'm going to drive for another few minutes, and then I'm going to go somewhere and I can walk around and we can test out the camera a little bit more. One thing I will say is worth noting, I've got the GoPro Hero 7 White right now on a Joby tripod, G-O-B-Y, Joby. I've got it on a tripod right now that's attached to my car. It's like a little suction cup, and the camera is actually upside down. So I'm recording right now with the GoPro Hero 7 White upside down, but the GoPro recognises that it's upside down and it flips the footage for you. So when you record the camera upside down, it's not like the clips are upside down, you have to change it in the editor. Those clips are recorded in the correct way. So right now the camera's upside down, but I don't have to flip it because it's recorded in the right way. So guys, I'm walking around and I don't have it in the case. So one of the things you notice when you take out the case is just how small the GoPro range cameras are. You know, all the GoPros are super small. It's one of the best selling points about the camera. These things are tiny, absolutely tiny. So easy to put in your pocket and take anywhere you want. But you know, when you put it in that, a little bit bigger. But it is, you know, it is necessary to put it inside the case if you want to put it on a tripod or selfie stick like I've got here. Now I'm moving around this, I'm moving around here, but this could actually be quite annoying for you depending on where I put my fingers, because when you handle it, when you handle the GoPro without the case, sometimes you do get a little bit more handling noises, you know, than you would normally expect, and it can be a little bit annoying. It can be a little bit annoying to do that. I've tried the time lapse. I think it's a very cool feature. I'm sure that's a feature that a lot of people will use. I've taken a few photos as well, and the photos seem good. You know, generally speaking, you know, photos and videos, I think GoPro has always struggled at night time. It's always been something that's performed well when there's light, but at night time it's really struggled. The photos the photos thing is, well, it's not going to replace your smartphone. You're not going to use this GoPro in replacement for your smartphone. Your smartphone, unless you're running around with a really cheap smartphone, chances are your smartphone takes a better picture. So if you're out there, you've probably got your phone with you, you'd probably use your phone to take a photo. But it's a useful feature. It is a useful feature, and if you're walking around taking pictures, taking videos, well, it's better to have it than not have it. So as I said, pay attention to the audio. I realise I'm probably putting my finger over the camera sometimes when I'm holding this. Pay attention to the audio. You're going to get, when you've not got it in a case, there's probably a higher chance that you're going to get some handling noise. I'm outside just now as well, so you're probably, though, can you hear wind? I'll see you later, but you might be able to hear some wind just now as well. And you know, handling noise, I think handling noise is something that all action cameras struggle with, because when you're, you know, putting your hand around the camera and you're holding it up like that, there's always a chance you're going to hit the mic or hit somewhere close to the mic, and that, you know, that audio is going to get picked up. Hopefully it isn't too bad. I'm conscious of where the microphones are. There's one at the side there. Yeah, so let me know what you think. Let me know if the audio, when you've got it naked per se, without the case, let me know what you think it's like. So the GoPro is no longer naked. I've got it back in the case and I'm using my selfie stick. So put your way up there if necessary. The thing is, I love the fact the GoPro is so portable. I love the fact it's so small, but I'll be honest, I generally wouldn't ever use it without putting it in the case and without using it with a tripod or with a selfie stick or using it with a suction cup in the car. It really is designed to be, you know, placed in other devices and chest straps, all these other things, all these other accessories. And I just feel that when you've got it in a selfie stick or a tripod, you just get more freedom to use it as the way it was intended. When you've got it close to you and you're using it with your hand, as I said before, you're always going to have that risk of creating a lot more handling noise. But just from a movement point of view as well, you know, if I'm holding it there, there's always more risk of me putting my finger over the sensor in addition to the handling noise. I just think that when you're using it with a camera or a tripod, it's a little bit better, it's a little bit easier, just a little bit more flexible, and it's still portable. It really is still portable. One of my frustrations with this so far, again, is the fact that you can only record at 1440p at 30 or 60 frames per second. It's something which I think they could have addressed. I think they really should have included a 1080p mode or maybe a 720p mode, but they've went for just 1440p. I don't know why they've got it in the box as 1080p, but it is important to remember though that this is an entry-level model. This isn't the top of the range model. This isn't, you know, the best GoPro out there. This is the entry level. This is the best camera to get if you don't have a lot of money and you want a GoPro. It's the beginner model, it's the starter model, and it's a cheap way for people to enter the GoPro world. £180 or $200 or 220 euros for the Hero 7 White. For a GoPro, it's quite good. I think for a brand new GoPro, you know, one of the latest models, I think that's a fair price. But there's always alternatives. There's always other options out there. And if you are looking to buy the GoPro Hero White 7, you're going to have to be aware of those other options. The first one being that there is, you know, instead of buying an entry-level GoPro Hero 7 White, you could buy a GoPro Hero 4, 5, 6, and you've got all these different models from years ago that are, you know, they're being sold second hand, or perhaps there's going to be clearance deals on those ones, certainly with the 6 range, and you can maybe pick up a bargain and maybe get more bang for your buck. One that's maybe got more recording modes, one that's maybe got higher resolutions. But remember as well, GoPro is the most expensive brand out there as far as action cameras go. Well, maybe between GoPro and Sony. You have to give Sony credit, they do charge a lot for their cameras as well. But if you don't want a GoPro and you don't want a Sony and you want something that's still good, then there are some alternatives. You've got like the SJ Cam ones from China. You've got the Yi models, like the Yi 4K and all that. They by Xiaomi, and those are the people that make my phone. And there are alternatives out there, and then you've got all these other cheaper brands as well. You'll see them on Amazon, you'll see them on eBay. These models are a lot cheaper, and if you're just looking for something basic, if you're just looking for something for the kids to play around with when they're in the pool or when they're out with friends, maybe you will go for one of these cheaper models, one of these cheaper brands. But that's not to say that the GoPro isn't good and it's not worth the money. The GoPro, you know, in addition to, you know, all the accessories, all the applications and all these different things it works with, you don't need a cage to use it with it. You know, you don't have to put a big cage around it. This is waterproof. I could drop it in a puddle right now, which I won't because it's not mine, it's my friend's. But I could drop this in water right now and it'll work fine. I don't need to put it in a cage. And a lot of these other brands, a lot of these cheaper models, they don't have waterproof built into the actual camera. Something to bear in mind. So I'll need to get home and I'll need to check all the footage and I'll need to, you know, listen to everything and all that. But I've had a quick look at the clips, I've had a quick listen to it, and I think the built-in microphones are okay. I think they're good. I don't think they're the like super high quality ones that are going to excel. I don't think anyone's going to rave about them. But I think they're good, and I think they will be good in most situations. But you're always going to struggle in certain situations when there's a lot of wind noise or when there's a lot of background noise. You're always going to struggle in those situations. So bear that in mind. But that's, you know, this is what it is. It's an entry level model. You really have to remember what you're buying and what you're paying. And, you know, in that respect, I think the microphones are actually pretty good, you know, bearing in mind what you're paying for. And it's the same for the video quality. When I was looking at the video footage when I was recording in the car, I felt that it was a little bit darker than it was in my, you know, in my GoPro Hero Black 6 from last year. But that was like 2.5 times the price. This is an entry level model. Again, I keep repeating that, but it is. It's a cheaper model, it's the entry level model. It's no surprise that last year's flagship is better in that situation. But the footage is good, and you can just see here as well, when I'm walking around just now, it's a lot lighter, there's a lot more light in the room, you know, obviously, in the room, outside, there's a lot of light outside. Obviously when I'm in the car it's a little bit darker. It wasn't picking me up as much, and it just didn't look as good. But when you're outside you've got light. Well, this is where an action camera really comes into its own. In the daytime, walking around with an action camera, the footage from the GoPro Hero 7 White is actually really good in my opinion. Whenever I do a review, any kind of review, but let's say cameras for example, whenever I do a review of a GoPro Hero 7 White, people always ask, should I buy one, shouldn't I buy one? They want me to summarise whether I should, you know, whether they should buy one. They want me to make the decision for them whether they should buy one or whether they shouldn't buy one. And I know it's not a popular answer, but I can't make that decision for you. The answer is, it depends. It really does depend. Firstly, it depends on your budget. If you can't afford the price of the GoPro Hero 7 White, you know, it's retailing at $200 or thereabouts the world over. If you can't afford that, don't even look at it. Look at one of the cheaper alternatives that are coming out from China. And, you know, there's a lot of other brand names as well. They've got action cameras out there. But if you can't afford it, don't even look at it. Look at a cheaper option. But let's say you've got the money for a GoPro and you're deciding between the white and the silver and the black, or you're deciding between this one and perhaps one of the cheaper Chinese brands. It really does come down to, what do you need and what do you want? And I think one of the biggest mistakes that most people make when they buy an action camera, certainly I made it, was that you buy an action camera that has got more features than you need. Last year I went for the more expensive GoPro Hero 6 Black. I wanted the external mic, yes I wanted that, but I also wanted the option of recording at 4K, but what I quickly found was that I didn't actually record in 4K. I recorded at 1080p nearly all the time. 1080p at 60 frames per second. It is my standard. So I bought this expensive action camera that had all these recording modes, and I used it all the time in one way. I used linear mode, I used 1080p at 60 frames per second. And that is one of the things that appeals to me about the GoPro Hero 7 White. And it's one of the things I love about it and hate about it. I don't know why it doesn't have these lower resolutions provided. I think it should at least be an option for the lower resolutions. But I like the idea of just all the video clips being consistent, all being at the one resolution, the one frame rate, 30 or 60. And I do like the idea as well that it's quite simple. Doesn't have an external microphone, doesn't have HDMI out, but what it does, I think it does quite well. I think if you don't need all the bells and whistles that you get with the flagship model, that you get with the GoPro Hero 7 Black, and you don't think you're going to need them, then I think the GoPro Hero 7 White is quite a good option. But it is a different story. It's a very different story when you start looking at different models from China. You really do have to kind of look at the entry-level GoPro range, the GoPro White, kind of as, you know, in a league of its own. It's a GoPro, it's an affordable GoPro. But for the money, there's a lot of really good Chinese action cameras that you could get as well. And maybe that is something you want to look into. But I do think the GoPro Hero 7 White, after using it for a few hours, I do think it comes across as a very versatile little camera. In many respects, it's very, very basic. You know, as I said, you can only record in 1440p. There's time lapse, there's photo, but there isn't a huge amount of resolutions or frame rates. There isn't a huge amount of options. Quite simple in many ways. But I think for a lot of people, that's all they want. They just want an action camera that works, and they just, you know, they click record, they record, and then they check the footage later on. So I think if you're looking for a basic action camera and you're wanting a GoPro, you want to tap into that world of GoPro. And yes, I do think there's still some problems with the GoPro app and things like that. It always kind of has problems syncing for me, I don't know why. But if you want to tap into the GoPro world, this is a fantastic entry point. So as you can see, I'm back in my messy, echoey kitchen, and I'm waiting for my dinner to cook. I am starving. So that last clip was recorded about an hour and a half ago. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was battery life. Now, you can read a lot about specifications, and you can read about all these run times, and there's a lot of other people that have did these tests to show what you can get from a recording point of view. Now, I've only spent a couple of hours using it, and I think I recorded there for about 40 to 45 minutes, but it wasn't continuous. You know, I was in the car, and then I was checking some footage, and then I was recording again, then I was talking, and I was stopping, I was taking some photos, I took some time-lapse videos as well, and I went from about 100%, 95% or something, down to about 40%. So what I always found with the GoPro cameras was that the battery drained very quickly, but it was also quite quick at charging, so kind of pro and con there. Now, in comparison to the GoPro Black 6, that, you know, the GoPro Black, GoPro Hero 6 Black, I always get those mixed up. GoPro Hero 6 Black, that's the last camera that I had last year, the last GoPro. And in comparison to that, battery life, I think it doesn't seem any better, but it doesn't seem any worse. With the GoPro Hero 6 Black, one of the main problems was the fact that when you recorded in 4K, it drained very quickly, which is one of the other reasons that I normally recorded at 1080p or occasionally 1440p. Now, on the subject of 1440p, this is something else that I got mixed up. Now, I'm still baffled as to what's going on. The website says 1440p, the box says 1080p, some marketing material says full HD, others say 1440p. I really don't know what's going on, and I think that the fact that a British, you know, a GoPro Hero White, GoPro Hero 7 White, I can never get this, the GoPro Hero 7 White being sold in the UK from a UK retailer, having NTSC instead of PAL, I think that's kind of sloppy. But the resolution thing, I think, is a bigger problem. It's a little bit bizarre, and here's the problem. 1440p, I assumed it was Quad HD. I assumed it was 256 2560 pixels by 1440 pixels. Now the vertical height 1440 pixels, which if you can work out is pretty obvious, is double the vertical height of 720p, which is why it's 1440p. But what confuses me a little bit is that the resolution isn't 2560, which is 2.7K. It's actually 1920. So the width is what you would expect from regular Full HD, but the vertical height is 2.7K. It's got this bizarre 1920 by 1440 pixel ratio. It's quite strange in my opinion, and what that means is you can use this footage in 1080p and you can just cut out top and the bottom. But if you want to show the whole clip, if you want to show the whole footage, then you need to scale it back. And what happens is this. Now as you can see, it doesn't have that 16:9 aspect ratio. It's a little bit bizarre that they've chosen to do this. I don't know why. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I really do hope that I'm wrong here. I hope there's a workaround here. But it does seem that 1920 by 1440 pixels is the only resolution that you can record in with the GoPro Hero White 7. It's kind of strange. So there's one thing that I haven't really touched upon so far, and it is recording in the dark. Now, it isn't dark enough yet. So what I have to do is wait a few hours, and then when it's dark, I'm going to go out with the GoPro Hero White. GoPro Hero 7 White, oh my god, I'll get it right one time. I'm going to go out with the GoPro and I'm going to record at night time. Now don't expect much. GoPros, even the top of the range ones, never perform that well in night time. It really is something that always performs better in the daylight, and in night time the footage isn't always that good. But it is worth testing when I've got the camera. So the next clip will be me walking about at night time with the GoPro Hero 7 White. I got it. So it's now about 7 at night in the UK, and it isn't pitch black outside, but it's getting there. Within the next half an hour or an hour it will be pretty dark, and you can see what it's going to be like. You can see there's, well, pretty much nothing, and this really isn't any surprise. All cameras perform quite badly in low light, and obviously when I've got the daylight bulbs on in my kitchen, you can see everything fine, but you can see that when the light goes away, it is a different story. So I'm going to go outside, I'm going to take a little walk, and we'll see how the GoPro Hero 7 White performs in low light. So this little alleyway kind of has some light here because of the lights behind me, but you should notice that, well, it's a very different story at night time than it is in the daytime. You're still going to get the stabilisation, but with low light, performance is hit in a very significant way. So where I'm standing right now, you do get cars going by, so it is a good indication as to what the microphones are like, what audio is like when you're next to a main road. It is dark, and smartphone cameras would struggle with this. Regular cameras do struggle with low light, but I do think that even in comparison to a smartphone camera, action cameras always struggle with low light, and it was the same problem I had with the GoPro Hero 6 Black, and it is, well, it seems to be the case with the Hero 7 White. Low light performance just isn't great. So if you are going to buy a GoPro Hero 7, even if you buy one, you know, the more expensive versions, the silver or the black, you should be prepared and should be ready to, well, you have to be ready with the fact that low light performance isn't going to be amazing. It really is something that works a lot better in the daytime. So I am thankfully back home because it was very cold out there, and I'm sitting here with the GoPro Hero 7 White, or grey. I think that's more grey, isn't it? So at the very start of this video, when I was, had it in the bag and all that, I said that this was a first impressions video, because I do think that when you first test something, there's a honeymoon period. There's a period where you think that, well, everything's exaggerated. The things you thought were amazing are perhaps just good, and perhaps some of the things that you thought were really, really bad aren't that bad. So sometimes your opinion changes after a few days or after a week. So that's why I'm saying this is a first impressions video, because I've only had this for a day. But, over the course of today, I've recorded a lot of different videos. I've tested it out. I've got a feel for the menu system. And I am someone that's coming from using the GoPro Hero 6 Black for a year. So I did have some idea what to expect. So I will summarize this whole video and give you my thoughts of the GoPro Hero 7 White. I'm getting better at pronouncing it. I will give you my thoughts on this after using it for a day. Design wise, I think this is, it's a GoPro. It's a GoPro. I mean, what else can you say? All of the GoPros look the same. They all, have the same shape and design, which is fantastic for accessories and all that. It doesn't have a battery cover because, it's got a built-in battery. That is something to note. Doesn't have HDMI out. It doesn't have an option for using this ugly, expensive external microphone adapter. But if you're not looking for that, none of those things are a problem. Video quality wise, my opinion is that at night time, admittedly, very, very bad. This has always been the case. During the daytime, when I was walking around those fields and all that, I thought the quality was very, very good. And you kind of saw that in the car sometimes. When there wasn't enough light in the car, it was kind of dark and kind of saturated and a little bit grainy. But when you're outside, when there's a lot of light, a lot of natural light out there, this looked fantastic. I really did think that this looked fantastic in the daytime. As far as the microphones go, I think they've improved the microphones in this range of cameras. I really do think that the built-in microphones are a lot better than what they were in the 5 and 6. Now, granted, I've only used the 6, but I have watched a lot of video reviews and all that of the older GoPros as well. And GoPros were always known for really bad audio. Now, I noticed some handling noise when I was holding it up like this without the selfie stick and case. So I was holding it like this at one point. My finger kept going over the lens, I know. But there was a little bit of handling noise. In the case, handling noise was reduced, but there was a few times when I was in the case like this, and I still got a little bit of handling noise just because it was moving around. Not major, but you could hear it kind of squeaking around and things like that. Of course, there were some times as well when you heard the wind and you heard some other things. But for the most part, I thought audio was quite good. Now, I used this camera today in a very basic way. I wasn't, running around, and I wasn't skateboarding. I wasn't on a mountain bike. I was just walking around, holding it like this and talking to you guys. So I have used it in a very limited way today. I haven't been, on an adventure with it. And I do encourage you to check out other reviews. I'm not saying that my advice and my opinions here are gospel, but the way that I used it, I was very impressed with the footage. The menu system and the way that it works and the way that it records, at first I was quite frustrated by it, because I've came from the GoPro Hero 6 Black, which gave me all these different options, all these different resolutions and frame rates, and I just don't have them here. But after a while, I don't know, I actually quite like the simplicity of it in many ways, because when you come on, you just click time-lapse or you click photo or video and you just start recording. You're not going into the settings area, you're not changing resolutions and frame rates, you're not messing around too much. You just click record and you stop. The main downside, of course, and it's the one thing I have talked about a lot since unboxing, is that this records at 1920 by 1440 pixels, which is just bizarre. It's just bizarre. I really don't know what they've done. And their marketing material is quite inconsistent, because I've seen some of their marketing material say Full HD, and then I've seen they're stressing the point that it's 1440p, but their box does say 1080p, 60 frames per second. But I think I'm hoping I'm missing something here, but I have not been able to record at 1080p. What I've been able to record is a 1440p vertical height, but 1920 width. So 1920 by 1440p. It's kind of this hybrid 1080p 2.7K resolution. It's a little bit bizarre, but what it means is that if you put it to regular full HD, you're going to have a little bit of footage at the top and bottom that's missed out. In some respects, that's quite good because you can actually adjust your shot to get the footage where you want it to be. But in other situations, if you just want to record and directly upload, you're going to have your footage at a very, very bizarre resolution. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of weird. It's not a deal. I don't think it's a deal breaker. And if you're going to edit your videos, it's not a major thing. But if you're recording in that bizarre aspect ratio and just sending it directly to your phone via the app, or you want to, do something like that, then you have to make, you're not going to have the regular 16:9 aspect ratio that most people are used to now with, 1080p, regular 1080p, 1920 by 1080. So yeah, that's a little bit bizarre. My friend bought this from a UK shop, and I know for a fact this is UK stock, and it was set up as NTSC instead of PAL. Again, not a major issue, but kind of sloppy. Maybe that means they've rushed it out. I don't know. The voice control and the voice recording thing, that works okay as well. Again, this was something that I switched off after a while last year because I found it sometimes, started and stopped recording or doing things when I didn't want it to. So I just switched it off because I prefer to do it manually. But overall, I'd say this is a very good camera. A very good camera. But it isn't a camera that's not without its flaws. It is limited in many respects. Certainly when compared to the more expensive options. The more, the Hero 7 Silver and Black. In particular, the Black. So in many respects, this is a very stripped down, very limited version of the Hero 7 Black. But it is less than half the cost, and it is an entry-level model. In that respect, I think it is a very, very good action camera. Yes, you can buy a used camera. Not everyone wants to buy used. Yes, you can buy a cheaper Chinese brand action camera, and you can get those from Amazon very easily or direct from China. And there's a lot of action cameras from other electronic brands as well. But in general, those ones aren't normally supported that long. GoPro have been supporting the range for a long time, so you're more likely to get updates for this over the next few years than you would a Chinese one or, a lesser known brand. So, yes, to summarize, I think this is a very good camera, but whether you should buy it or not, it really does depend on what you're looking for. What I recommend you all do is check out the feature list, check out what it can do, check out what it can't do. Check your budget to make sure you don't spend more than what you want to spend, and of course look at some alternatives. But if you're looking for a GoPro and you're looking for one of the better GoPros, I definitely think that the GoPro Hero 7 White here is a fantastic option. After one day of use, that is my opinion. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope anyone who is looking seriously at buying the GoPro Hero 7 White has found this useful. I do recognise the fact that this is a very long video, and some people do want a shorter video, but I wanted to do something in depth. I wanted to do something that kind of looked at all the strengths and weaknesses of it. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please do leave a comment below, guys. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Leave a comment, share, like, all that good stuff. And from me and the GoPro Hero 7 White/Grey, I say goodbye. Thanks, guys. Until next time, take care.